of branding and communications. It should be planned, positive, and progressive. And by planned, we need to develop and implement a standard for all communications, that it is consistent branding, imagery, and messaging, that it is strategic and proactive, and that we have one hub that connects our website, social media, direct messaging, printed materials, etc. From a positive perspective, we'll use all mediums to promote a favorable idea, image, and impression of the district, that it is inclusive from, I describe it from senior citizens to seniors in high school. The social media is used to support the website and promote community. For example, Motivational Monday, Throwback Thursday, which could be a really direct connect for our alumni staff, alumni connections. The history of Trotwood-Madison. We have lots of new staff who have no idea the rich tapestry that exists in our district. Wellness Wednesday, Family Friday, maybe parenting points. Our communications should be progressive in that it educates, informs, and engages our total community, that it establishes a place that advances our story, creates future opportunity for contributions from our brand ambassadors. That's our employees, our students, our staff, families, and leadership, and ultimately connects us to the greater community. And so we have a foundational structure, and the whole premise is that everyone should know and be able to share our story, the story of Trotwood-Madison City Schools. And on the internal side of it, we should be able to assess, adjust, and advance our story. And the foundational structure for our story is based on our vision, which is 100% student success, the mission of Trotwood-Madison City Schools, and our strategic plan. So in conclusion, the purpose of Allerton Hill Consulting working with us is to help us really create a purpose, which is telling our story using multiple platforms and formats, that we have a process, that we are consistently telling the story and telling the story with consistency. And finally, that we have a plan, and with, again, the support from Allerton Hill Consulting to create an effective communication system. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan Isaac.
Thank you.
I'm going to open it up to the board. Do you have any questions regarding this particular presentation or initiative? So, I'm sorry, go right ahead, Mr. Scares.
I just want to know how it's different than what we offer already or what we do already.
Well, we were using another company. This one gives us more access. They only have clients that are education oriented, and it's almost half the price that we had paid.
Any other comments?
I saw the cost and I know what we paid before. But I think we were asking before for some signages and some other things at that time. Before I would want to commit, I need to know where we're going to get the money, which bucket would we get it from. I don't know if it's possible to use COVID only because we're virtual, we'll be virtual, and the communications via social media is important at this time. So don't know if we could use all of it, but the $5,000 a month was kind of a sticker shock to me, and then it was a $1,500. So I would, I personally would like to kind of look deeper into those costs.
Okay, I can explain some of that cost to you. If it's 5,000 total, the 1,500 was an option of just using certain social media platforms. So the 5,000 allows unlimited access to construct communications in any way, unlimited. And so it's not like, you get paid every time you speak to someone, or you can only use them 10 times or something along those lines. You can contact them. I'm getting ready to do a presentation for whatever. Can you help, develop it? Can you look at what I already have and see, what you think? And then they ask questions like, what is the purpose of this communication? What are you attempting to do? I find that when we were talking to them, compared to some of the other people that I know that we looked at, and I looked over their information, just the fact that they focus solely on school districts, and they're throughout Ohio, and they have some other areas as well. So I think it is going to be good. So the total is $60,000 for the whole year versus what we were paying before. So it is less, and I feel as if we will definitely get a lot more. We can have meetings set up, weekly, and then any other time that you need to contact. I do think it's a good deal in that respect. Also, another thing that I'd like for you to know about this is that with 30 days notice, you can end the contract. So if it's not working, if we don't feel like we're getting what we want, we're not committed to a certain amount. You give them 30 days notification that this isn't working, then the contract ends.
I want to kind of, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt if somebody was about to say something. I couldn't tell.
Ms. Freeman, did you have another comment first? Thank you,
The
Mr. Spears.
follow-up to that would be, does that include redesigning our homepage and how that looks? So I did kind of research them a little bit. I know that they are a consultant with Lakota, I think Lakota East or West, one of those. So I don't know, did they do that? Did they do their layout design of that? Does it include that piece?
Well, we work with a particular company that does the website design, but they can and will tell us what needs to be on there and how we can make it better and be more user friendly, that type of thing. But we use the company. Ms. Bella, do you remember the name of it? I can't think of it off the top of my head now. But we have a company that does that. So it would be them looking at what is done and helping us make it better.
Okay. Mr. Scares?
Yes. I don't think I agree with Ms. Freeman. I don't think it's a fair comparison to suggest that they're a little cheaper. We were being provided a lot more service with the other organization. I want to be certain that this doesn't infringe on Ms. Isaac in any way. So if they're going to be doing a bulk of communication work that she does now, they're not going to put her out of a job or anything like that, are they?
She can speak to that. We've had that discussion. You see that smile. She heard their presentation, and as she walked out of the room, she said to me, "This is what we need." So unless I'm mistaken, I think Ms. Jordan Isaacs is, she saw the presentation. When you say that we received more benefit from them, since I've been here, we've never had communication about any communications that I needed to put out. I know that they did things like develop the postcards and things like that, which this company can do as well. And I know that, for example, they took, like my picture, that kind of thing. But my understanding was that we had a certain amount of money that we were spending with them. And basically, we had to spend all of that money before we could move forward. And that was more money than we are committing to for this 1 year. So we do currently work with Key Ads, who we have the billboard are put up through Key Ads. That was a contract that I guess we're still in, because I just talked with them and we're getting ready to extend that. I think they're adding some new places, that'll have those billboards. So I'm not really, unless I have not been shared in entirety with what was offered, and they have not come to me, to share anything with me about what they did. But we have spent the money at this point from that company, which was $100,000.
Okay, any other comments for the superintendent or questions? Dr. Cosby, so this essentially is a PR company, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they're going to be doing PR work for us. I noticed further down in the agenda, you have their contract, and maybe if we could go through that, it may answer a lot of questions that were not presented in the presentation along the lines of their services and things that they've done. And Ms. Jeter Freeman, I've seen Lakota's website as well in Lakota West, and I'm going to tell you that website is amazing. It is user-friendly. A 2-year-old can navigate their website. That's how simple it is. But not just simple, but informational, updated and current. And that's something that we have talked about in the past, board, is bringing us into the 21st century on a lot of the things that we do. All of our information seems to be a little bit behind, a little bit late. Also, if you've gone on our website, it's not the easiest tool to use. So having a company like this company that can be instrumental in helping to revise that, I can see benefit. Plus, I'm looking at the agenda, and we have some pretty serious issues that are coming up, and they're in the discussion items. So Mr. Scaris is huge with promoting. As a matter of fact, we got to fight for our kids. We have to tell our own story. And this is something we've all been saying for a long time. And having the right communications company in place might just do that. In addition to that, I love the fact that it's a 30-day out clause. So if they're not doing the work, we can let them go. So again, I'm looking at what's happening. We are virtual now. The only way that we really communicate with folks is through the internet, through our Facebook, online. So we got to step our game up right there. We've got to make sure that we are very, very prominent and that we have a lot of presence and social media along the lines of Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and all the other outlets. And if this company can help us to do that, it may be a good return on investment. One thing I would like, though, I know Mr. Howard just put the other company in the chat, and I saw it a moment ago, but I don't see it right now. When is their contract up, and will those services overlap at all? Or is it two different entities altogether? Because they do website design, but we already have a company that does that, correct?
Correct.
So when is their contract over, or what are we looking at? And also, how much do we pay them?
I can honestly say I don't know. I
would have to look that up and get that back to the board. So I'll notate that.
Mr. Howard, do you know?
I do. I don't know the actual cost. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone, so I'm trying to get my camera together. But what eSchool View is they are just a platform manager for the website. So they're just simply a company that manages the platform. We can identify and design the website any way we want it to do. We can tell them where to put certain things, what to put on the certain page, how we want things scrolling, etc. But they simply are just a vendor that manages the website platform. So with this company coming in, Dr. Cosby, they can assist in helping us redesign or add or subtract things from the website. But eSchoolView is the standard vendor that manages the website.
Okay, they're just the provider for the platform, not so much content.
No, with the content aspect of it is done by the district.
Okay.
And so that's how this company will help us with the content, where it should be located, size, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I just know that right now, all districts are going to be between a rock and a hard place when it comes to getting all our kids back in place, because things have been so volatile. And let's face it, we have lost students. They've gone other places. They've gone to, other schools and to get what they needed, along the lines of the best decisions that their parents were making for them. We have to make sure that slogan, we have it, that people understand we really have it. And we've got to get that out in some sort of way. And we've got to do it hard, and we've got to do it heavy. And this is the time to do it. There's, like I said, there's a few contentious items on this agenda, and I can see where this is going to be a good fit for us at this time. I wouldn't have said that maybe back in the past when we've tried some things and we weren't going to go with a PR and an advertising company and all of those kind of things. But right now, I can see a benefit for the PR.
One last thing. I definitely can understand the significance and the benefit of having them. I'm not, in disagreement there. I do remember the last time we went out for a PR firm. I don't know if it was a requirement that we sent out an RFP. I just can't remember. There was something that we had to make it available to everybody. And has that been done in this particular case? Has an RFP gone out?
No, not for this, but I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know if we need to for this. I see Janet shaking her head.
No, you don't need to go out for an RFP.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Cosby, have you worked with this firm before?
Well, I'll tell you, the truth is, no, I have met with them before, or met with one of the lead people, and they're very honest. And we had a conversation when I was in my other district, and when I was there, it was so much going on that the person who I met with, who works with us now, Carol, said, I feel like I would just be taking your money. You have too many things going on. We'll talk at another time. But anytime you have a question, call me. And I called her, and she gave me some very sound advice. And by following that advice, things did turn out as we wanted them as a district. And that was without any pay. So I do believe that they are not in it, quote unquote, for the money, that they do understand the importance of, how we are viewed by our community, how we get our information out, how we're sure that we are telling our story, as you've said, so no one else is telling it. And so I trust them in that way.
Okay. Miss Isaac, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Yes, I would like to. First of all, the conversations that have been taking place, let's be honest, our website and our communication efforts really need to be revised. The consultants, even without, I guess, moving forward with the contract, I've almost talked to Gia daily. And one of the things that we talked about is our website is saying a whole lot, but is it really saying what we want it to say? Is it directing people to the information that they need? Are we increasing our community's frustration because they're not able to navigate to find the information for themselves? And so just even that conversation, talking about evaluating all of our media platforms, our website, our social media, the direct messaging aspect. What are we putting out in print? What are our home mailings looking like? Is it the message that we truly want to send? And so thank you so much, Mr. Scarce. I do enjoy my paycheck, so thank you very much for making sure that I am not rendered without a job. But it is to really support the work that I am trying to do per the superintendent, that we have a real robust communication effort. And again, that it is strategic, that it's planned, and that it's proactive. And so just the preliminary conversations that we're having and the support that they're offering me to kind of direct, like even the fact that I think it may have been Carol that said, why do we have so many tabs at the top of our website? You know, what are the real messages that we want to send, and how do we want to direct that traffic? So I just want you to know that if for nothing else, it's the conversation that I think we've all had, maybe in silos and maybe as individuals, but it's now a collective conversation that we're trying to have to make sure, again, that our branding is what we want it to be. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan Isaac. We appreciate your presentation. Dr. Cosby, is there an opportunity for us to meet this company? Can we have them on next meeting so that you can introduce them to us and they can say a little bit about who they are, what they do?
Yes, we had wanted them to come this time, when we had talked about it, but it was too short notice. So I can have them, I can ask for either next meeting, which I know that's getting close to the holidays and all, or the meeting in January.
Okay, that would be good. That way we can put a face with a name.
No problem.
This is our first time actually using a PR company. I want to make sure that if there's any questions in our minds, if there are additional pieces to what they do, they could share that so that we're very comfortable and confident in moving forward with this particular firm and in this capacity.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Anything else, Board? I'm sorry. Ms. Jeter Freeman, did you have something else?
I just wanted to thank Ms. Jordan Isaac and Dr. Cosby for the detailed explanation, and that helps a lot. And that's the same thing I'm looking for. So I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. Next up, board report. And this is the January organizational meeting. Kind of push this up. Usually we do this the last meeting of the year, but I want to just kind of go ahead and get our president pro tem in place. I'd like to ask Mr. Scares if he would be interested, if it's the pleasure of the board, if that's okay. It's a good opportunity really to give everybody a chance to serve in that capacity.
Yes.
Okay. Board, or would that be the pleasure of the board?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
You did just say pro 10, right?
Pro 10.
Okay.
That's it. Just temporary. You would just be temporary.
The board was too quiet when you asked.
No, you weren't. Look, I did not say president. I just said temporary pro
Thank you.
10.
Thank you very
what
much.
You're welcome. And thank you for stepping up to that. What we do for those that are on the platform and those that are going to be watching this YouTube, the board at the end of the year, we kind of solidify a president pro temp. And what that is, at our first meeting of the year, that's our organizational meeting. Our organizational meeting gives us an opportunity to appoint new leadership. And it also gives us an opportunity to look at specific committees and get new committee members, if that is, again, the board's pleasure. We get an opportunity to organize ourselves in a way that to operate for the coming year. So we always select someone to do that, and it's usually just a selection. And with this board, I have found sharing the leadership and also giving people opportunity to do something that they've never done, and kind of like what we do in the district. We coach people up and we support them where they are. this would be Mr. Scarce's first time, and he is in his first term, and this would be your fourth year, correct, Mr. Scarce?
Yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. So that's what that's all about. So we will move on. And Mr. Scarce, if you have any questions concerning that particular role for the first meeting in January, we'd be happy to address those.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I know you sat through enough of them, right? So you know exactly what they are. We'll move on. Treasurer's report.
Good evening. I just have one item to present this evening. It's the approval of minutes for November 5th, 2020 work session, the November 10th, 2020 emergency meeting, November 14th, 2020 board retreat, and the November 19th, 2020 regular meeting. So that's just for information, and it will be presented again for approval at the December business meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on the minutes? Next up, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Cosby, please.
I'm here. I just had to unmute. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
The first one is the approval of the contract to Allerton Hill Communications for social media services. I will try to see if they can get in so that we can hear from them prior to asking for that approval at our next meeting.
Perfect.
Okay, and so that's A, and now B, approval of request for a waiver to the Ohio Department of Education regarding career technical education for the 2019-2020 and the 2020-2021 school year. Again, this is informational. So I want that approval next time. Anybody have any questions on that one? Otherwise, we're on E.
I have a question on the career tech one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go through and remind us exactly what we're asking to waive on that? Because one of the things I wanted us to look at was, can we get, internships with some of our local businesses? And I think it kind of falls under this one. So even though we're waiving it, that was one of the things I wanted us to look at a while ago, especially now that our students are all virtual, they have more time, and we talk to community partnerships. Well, one of those partnerships is, we have students that are interested in StrataCash. Okay, so what is it that StrataCash does? What students, doing a survey at the high school, not even a survey, but teachers being aware of introducing our students to what's available here. What kind of jobs are here? What kind of skills are in demand? What kind of skills should you be looking at going into this next wave?
Right. Okay. Well, I think this is more specific about certain courses that you have to be offering to say that you're doing career technical education, and we are not offering those particular classes. So that is why we need a waiver. But to your point, as far as like trying to develop internships and developing partnerships, we can definitely do that with, even though, we're asking for the waiver. Those two things are not connected in that way. And I will say I've been in contact with Central State University. I mean, I know you all know that we have that satellite area, and they talked about how we could develop much more communication with our high school students. They actually want that. I actually got a call from the former president before she left, Cynthia Hammond, asking to please continue this, and that it was a big opportunity. So of course we're planning to do that. And also I don't have enough detail at this point to talk a lot about what we're anticipating to happen, but we are finding out that there is going to potentially, hopefully, be even more than just StrataCash, but some other companies and businesses looking to move into Trotwood. And that's one of the things we're talking about, is developing partnerships with those companies. So I think that, yes, we can definitely pursue that, have our counselors work with our students and, find out what their interests are. And I agree that it's very important. We should be able to hopefully have some students who maybe even find what they would like to make a career for themselves by doing internships. It definitely makes a difference. So, and none of that is connected with us not saying that we are having the career technical education, because as you know, we send our kids to Miami Valley CTC.
Right. On that same note, so when we look at our student government and those organizations, those are the kinds of things that we can charge our students to be doing. Contact 2 companies in Trotwood and identify what their skills are. And so that's the rich kind of engagement I think about when we have those organizations. It's not just a meeting. It is really getting our students out at the middle and high school, getting them to know how to make those contacts, getting them the exposure to leadership. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you've given me a really good segue to my conversation with Mr. McCray. So thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Cosby regarding the request for waiver? We can move on.
C is approval of request to dispose of outdated materials. My understanding is if we want to get rid of materials, even if they are outdated, for example, I know we have some ELA books that are no longer useful because they don't align to the standards. And so we would like to, and it says dispose of them, but that doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily burn them. We're going to just be able to use them for things other than as a curriculum because they no longer are aligned. So we're asking for permission to move forward with moving them along out of our cluttered area in the building.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? We'll go ahead. Dr. Cosby, we'll move on.
Okay. Next, approval of student activity purpose statements and budgets for fiscal year 21, the high school yearbook, high school National Honor Society, high school art club, high school student government, high school class of 2021, high school vocal, singers, Muse Machine, and MH functional class. And this is their activity purpose statements. They have to tell what organizations do and what their budgets are.
Okay.
And this is informational. This would be approved at our next meeting.
Okay. Are there any questions for Dr. Cosby regarding the budgets? We'll go on.
All right. And now we're at E, the approval of the personnel agenda. And for that, I would like to have, and Dr. Davis has shown her beautiful face. She's available now to take that one on.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Dr. Davis.
I am going through the personnel agenda. And so first up, we have our certified agenda, personnel agenda A. First on there, we have an interim athletic director we're pleased to announce. And I believe Mr. Jonas Smith is on the line with us today to introduce himself to the board. Mr. Smith, if you're available. Okay.
Yes. Good evening, President Moore, members of the board, Superintendent Cosby, Treasurer Allen. I'm excited about this opportunity and becoming a part of the team and look forward to seeing our student athletes excel academically as well as athletically. So
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Moving ahead on the agenda, we have a math lab teacher at Westbrook Village. As we talked about last time, we had a grant from the curriculum department to provide equitable services. And so I believe on last month's agenda, we did an ELA teacher. And then this month, we're adding the math lab teacher to Westbrook. The next section is our substitutes. We have a sub who's going to be in the ROTC program. That is Mr. Graves. I believe my staff had told me that a gentleman we used to have by the name of Jerry Newsom has retired. And so he's going to replace them until we can get a replacement from the services. Next, we are moving to our agenda B, which is we had resignations last month. And so these new hires that we have here are just replacing those. We have a gentleman returning from an unpaid leave of absence. And then we have event workers and a sub-clerical. And lastly, we have supplementals for 2 coaches.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
You're welcome.
I'm going to open it up for discussion or questions. I have a question. My question is I noticed that the last line, all salaries are subject to change based on education and verified years of experience. And we've done that on a few of the personnel agenda. Is there any reason why we can't maybe have that presented at the time that we get the agenda, and that way we know exactly what the dollar amounts look like?
That is the practice I'm familiar with. However, when I came to Trotwood, it was shared with me that that's how you guys have always done it. So even if a member does not have all their information in, we allow them to submit it. And then once they submit it, it's changed on the agenda. I would be more than happy to remove that and make sure that everyone has everything in place prior to being placed on the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. We'd appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. Next item. Thank you. Our discussion items. Dr. Cosby, would you start out with the ed choice? Oh, you're on mute.
I had a really good intro to that too.
Okay, well now you can start over, all right? Just rewind.
Right. I was pointing out that at our retreat, we had sort of started the conversation about Ed Choice and talked about the fact that it's been around now for many years. Ed Choice, for those who aren't familiar with it, is the fact that our students are allowed to get vouchers and take the money that we would get and would be on them as an individual student and take it to either a private or charter school, also known as a community school. There's been a lot of controversy about Ed Choice over the years because oftentimes it's felt as if it definitely negatively impacts urban school districts. And so it has been going sort of back and forth, a lot of communication about it. And then it sort of went quiet for a while. And then all of a sudden we found out that votes had been taken on it at the State House. Both the House and the Senate have approved the most recent Ed Choice voucher bill. And what that does is the way the most recent bill had come out had stated any school that met the requirement of having a D or an F at a school, that school would be eligible for a voucher. That took the number of schools involved up to about 1,200. And amongst those were districts that had never been a part of this before. Mm-hmm. So there were buildings from wealthier districts. There were different people who now were being impacted that had not been impacted before. So that's what made it become important again. And so what they're doing now is saying, so they redid this bill. They sort of sent it through quickly. It's been passed, and right now it's waiting on the governor's signature. So that's why it's still a very important conversation. But the people who now can get vouchers are students who are in school, so with 20% or more low income students. So they're focusing on poverty, and schools that are in the bottom 20% of the state performance index ranking. And so that took it from possibly 1,200 schools down to 473 eligible schools. Of course, we are in the eligible list, and it really does impact us a lot. I did get with Miss Allen to find out what was the 2021 expenditure on that. And it was $543,541.50 is what we spent out for students who take vouchers and go to other schools. So what we're doing now at this point is there's been a lot of testimony around Ed Choice at the State House, and I've been signing off on that. We are making efforts to talk to our legislators prior to the governor signing this at the end of the year. Tomorrow morning, I'll be involved in a meet and greet with Senator Huffman, who's the one sort of behind this, and Senator Lehner will also be there along with some new House members. And we will be discussing Ed Choice, school funding, and testing. Our goal, our hope is to get them to talk to the governor, and hopefully enough people do this that maybe he will not sign it, because other than that, this bill is ready to roll, and it will continue to impact urban districts in a way that, in my opinion, seems to be totally unfair. So that's why I wanted to sort of bring us up to speed on what was happening. I did want to let you know that I was involved in, advocating for our students, and just, we all know, in my opinion, one of the big issues is the report card. And so for us to be in the bottom 20% of state performance index rankings, my question would be, is the way they even develop the ranking system and fair? And I don't believe it is. So all we can do is what we are doing, is to make our voices loud and to, hopefully get the governor to say that he won't sign it at this point, and we can continue to work on trying to make it more fair.
We have our law director on, and Janet Cooper.
Well, I got one question before she does that.
Okay. And then Ms. Freeman, did I see your hand up? Okay. There's a little hand in your corner. Okay. Go right ahead, Mr. Scarce.
This is another bill that is different than the one the governor just signed last week?
The governor has yet to sign this one. The House has voted it through, the Senate has voted it through, and that's the last piece before it becomes active, before it gets a date for when it will happen. So this is.
Are you sure the governor hasn't signed that? Because I'm quite confident that the bill that you're talking about, the governor has already signed into law.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Janet,
let's ask their meeting point. Could be, though.
I thought that to be true too, Mr. Scares. We have our law director on. Ms. Cooper, can you share a few words? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're still on mute. Can you unmute?
Can Luke take her off?
There you go.
I'm not sure if I think this has been signed by the governor.
Why we're having our meeting tomorrow?
That's
this is the primary topic.
Yeah. Well, the document that I have is from the Ohio Legislative Service Commission, and all it does is explain the bill. So it's very possible that he hasn't signed it yet.
Yeah, they were saying he was going to sign it before the end of the year, was what we were told as recently as today. And we met yesterday the 16 Montgomery County superintendents to discuss what we were discussing with them tomorrow. And pointedly, that's what we're talking about. So if you find it, I wouldn't be totally surprised because it shouldn't have even come up when it did. So a lot of tricky things can happen. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, Mr. Scarce. I'm just saying that if that has happened, it's not very common knowledge. Janet and I don't know, and Montgomery County superintendents aren't aware at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely telling you, he signed it 3 days ago. And
On
I'm
the
not saying that.
27th.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that by any means to create controversy. But
it's still an opportunity to change. I don't know. But if so, then yeah, maybe it's continuing the fight in the future.
Yeah. Well, any questions around
the case? It definitely, like Ms. Moore just breathed, is just like, oh my goodness, then it's just one more hurdle.
It is definitely going to be a hurdle. Ms. Allen, you said we spent $500,000 this past school year.
$543,000 is the annual amount for this fiscal year that we will spend by June 30th, 2021.
Okay. Ms. Cooper, did you have something else to add with Ed Choice?
Not with respect to the Ed Choice, no.
Okay. This is going to be pretty devastating. How many districts in Montgomery County does this impact?
The list for next year, I don't know, 5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah, it's not so many, even though a lot of the Southwest districts have agreed to, they agreed to fight to try to get it stopped. But if you're saying it's already a done deal, then like I said, I'm not really sure what the next step. Ms. Cooper, do you know what, if something is signed and passed into law? I mean, are you starting off?
It would have to be re-legislated.
Yeah.
The districts in Montgomery County that are affected for 2021 are Dayton City, Huber Heights, Jefferson Township, Mad River, Miamisburg, New Lebanon, Northmont, Northridge, Trotwood, Vandalia, Butler, and West Carrollton.
Okay, thank you. Another reason why we need the PR firm. We really, this is a good time to bring them on board. This is a good opportunity for us to tell our stories and to fight for our kids. Yeah. Any other comments or questions regarding Ed Choice?
Just my final comment.
Yes, sir.
I've said this before. You know, for a long time, public school had a monopoly on education, and it just isn't. It's not the case anymore. And things like Ed Choice, although it's an uphill battle that districts like ours have to fight, it makes us have to compete. And I think, and I'm not speaking in respect to Trotwood solely, just kind of public education as a whole. For so long, we never had to compete. You know, and we have to compete now. We have to be innovative. We have to do the things that charter schools and other schools are willing to do to get our kids away from our districts. Like, we have to think outside the box and start being innovative in that respect. So I don't think it's going to go away. I don't personally think that public education, the way it exists now, will exist in 20 years for those districts that don't grab hold to what is necessary to stay alive now. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there.
We have a retreat coming up. We need to really discuss what that looks like, Mr. Scarce. What are we going to do to make sure that we stay alive? What are we going to do to make sure that we can meet the needs of students and families like other districts are doing, or, you know, are being creative in ways to really lure them to their schools? In addition to that, I think this could be very serious for our budget, Ms. Allen, at the end of the day, especially with funding being suspect, and now this particular bill being signed. And Mr. Scarce, I saw where it was signed too. We get Will Shorts from OSBA. They send out those legal briefs, and it came out a few days ago. So looks like it's a done deal unless they go back into legislation and change some things or tweak some things. But for us, it gives us an opportunity to really and truly sit down, come together, collaborate on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it.
And I don't want us, I don't want us to forget that, again, the two ways that they get them is that you're high poverty or low income students, and that your school is in the bottom 20% of state performance index rating. And I do think that we need to really understand that a lot of that is political. It's not, do we need to do more? And I think we hold on to our students. I think they're very loyal. Our families are, they stay here. But until we fix these things, we're going to always find ourselves in this position.
Mm-hmm.
Because until we can get out of, these
the bottom 20%. Well, that's what the discussion should be about. How are we going to do that? And it's not that we weren't trying to do it before. We nearly escaped the state takeover, and all hands were on deck. There wasn't a person in this district that didn't roll up their sleeves and do all that they could to ensure that we could be self-governed. And if we can do that, we can work our way out of the bottom 20%. I believe that strongly. There is not one fiber in my body that doesn't believe that we can get out of that category. And if that's what it's going to take, then that's what we're going to be talking about at our first retreat. How are we going to do that? And then you're going to have your cabinet with you. You're going to be able to share some of the things that you guys have come up with. And we're going to attack this thing. We're not just going to lie down and say, we're going to stay here and be a part of the pack. So thank you. And Mr. Andrews?
I think one of the big issues has been down through the years with ed choice is not the concept of ed choice itself, but the idea that at least at one time, if it's not still the case, charters and other schools like that were not held to the same types of evaluation tools as public schools, which a lot of people felt was unfair, and it still is unfair. They were able to do some things without the repercussions and limitations that public schools have placed on them. And then, and obviously, it is political. If the list of eligible schools for ed choice went from 1,200 to 400 after everybody looked at it, it's kind of like that third grade or fourth grade, whatever it was, reading guarantee, where no one was going to pass if they didn't pass that reading test at the end of the year. And then when they found that a lot of the more affluent districts were being impacted as well, they walked that back and kind of changed that up a little bit. And this, to me, smells like more of the same. So whether it's been signed or not, I think we still have to fight it. And I think that we are making improvements. It's going to take baby steps, but I think we're doing a lot of things different, a lot of things better. I think that a lot of people in the community feel comfortable with that as well. And public education is under attack. This current administration made that very obvious from day one, and so I think this is all a fallout from that. It's where it is impacting us directly. So we do need to talk about it and do our planning and things, but we also need to be represented and lobbying at the state level with the governor and with people who are flexible to take an objective look at this and to see that there are some imbalances in how the rules and things are applied. And then, of course, schools like ours are the ones the most heavily punished because they're the easiest ones to pick off.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll move to the treasurer's comments.
I just wanted to remind the board members that I did send an email to you this afternoon to address some of the questions that were brought up at the retreat concerning the comparison that I had done with the Montgomery County districts. I included the percent of their budget as it related to the deficit spending. I also explained a question that came up in terms of the salaries being decreased. So if you could look at that, and if you have any questions, please give me a call or text me, and I can further have a discussion with you on those points. And that's all I had this evening.
Thank you. Superintendent comments? You're on mute. Okay, there you go.
And I would like to say that I do appreciate, Mr. Scarce, your informing me of that. I try my darndest to keep up with everything, but things do get biased. So thank you. It definitely will change my questioning tactics for tomorrow morning. That's for sure. The other thing I wanted to comment on was to bring up another thing that had come up before in our meetings and again at our retreat, and that was recognizing our staff, which the board is extremely excited about doing. Mm-hmm. And I wanted you to know that we have rolled out a program. We are getting information on our staff members, and we're doing all staff. This would be anyone who's a staff member, teachers and or auxiliary staff. We're looking at professional practice, leadership, community and family engagement, organizational support, and then if a principal has a reason to recommend or nominate someone for another reason, they can do that as well. So we are getting that going now, and I wanted you to know that so that we can start to really put highlight on the great things that our staff members are doing for the district.
Thank you. We appreciate you doing that because that's way overdue. Way. So I know the list is going to be long. Thank you. Next up, board comments, Mr. Andrews.
The only thing I wanted to say was I support the idea of us looking at the PR company. We do need to get our story out and get it told. This last little bit of information kind of highlights the urgency of that, but we have a wonderful story, and we have I think a very inspirational story in terms of this district. I was talking with someone over the weekend, and they were just talking about it's a spiritual kind of thing, the allegiance and the loyalty and affinity that a lot of people have for Trotwood, and that story needs to be told. I think it's very, very important.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Mr. Scarce.
Ironically enough, the only comments I was going to make this evening was actually about Ed Choice. So everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Ms. Jeter Freeman.
I don't have any other comments.
Okay. Vice President Bozeman.
I have a few, I guess. Well, two really. Of course, as always, thanking everyone for being here tonight, hanging in here with us. And then also, I've read a really interesting article in the American School Board Journal under equity, and it talked a little bit about establishing an AP Black History course. And it reminded me about how we were talking about establishing Black history in our district. And one of the things it talked about in the article, which is one of the things I do for a living, which is rebranding. I rebrand, I guess is what I call it. I rebrand honors, because so many times students don't think they're honor students, but really they are. They just don't see themselves in that same vein. And they talk about that. They say students need to see themselves in Black history and see themselves in honors Black history or AP students. And so I thought about that, and I thought we need to really think about that as well as we move toward this Black History program, and really thinking about how we could even move toward establishing an AP Black History course. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a really good retreat because we got a lot to talk about. All I have to say is thank you all for being here with us this evening. We appreciate you. Additionally, thank you for the conversation, good conversation, as well as Dr. Cosby getting that program off the ground with acknowledging and recognizing our staff and our district community. Uh, Other than that, I now need a motion to adjourn into executive session to consider the employment of a public employee per BOE policy 0166 and ORC 12122G1.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Being none, I'm sorry. Oh, being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Boldman,
Yes.
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. We will now adjourn into executive session at 6:37 p.m. No action will be taken.
Did we get a
Correct?
separate link for that? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Did we get a separate link for that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I logged on
Okay.
kind of late.
If you don't have it, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. We will now go into executive session. And then we will come out and adjourn as appropriate.
Make sure you check your Trotwood emails for that link.
Thank
Not your
you.
personal Trotwood emails.
All right, we're live.
Okay, we are out of executive session, and I now need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Let me think about it. Yes. Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Put your hand down, Vanessa. Vanessa raised her hand.
Wait, my hand is up. I got a question.
No,
I disagree.
no, we off. We off. Good night, Mr. Scares. Good night, everybody. Have a
Good
great
night.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.